Hello, hi. I'm pleased that you made it to come and watch this keynote address. I am Ndegwa, based here in Nairobi and a proud Kenyan citizen. Proud because I see a lot of effort and development that we are making in terms of the stride we're taking in advancing technology in this region. And today I'll be speaking to you about exactly that. How are we leveraging innovation to improve operational efficiency? And to do this, I've had to reflect a little bit about what the world was before technology. And I really cannot actually be able to go back that far in trying to figure out how we actually coped or managed to do a lot. And I think a lot of you can relate to this. When you think about something as simple as a mobile device, for instance, it is something that a lot of us did very well without. I mean, we still had our connections with one another. We still had a lot of conversations and communication. But now with something like as small and as tech can get, as a mobile device, for example, we have seen our lives change almost entirely to relying on this device a lot of times in everything that we do. And I'm giving the example of a mobile device because I think everybody, at least everybody, I don't want to make the assumption that everybody can, but at least a lot of you can relate to what I'm talking about in terms of how digital, adoption of digital transformation can change basically how we operationalize issues or even our own lives. And so I'm thinking about a number of things. First, how quickly we have adopted and how steadily we have also embraced digital transformation. And I'm wondering to myself as I'm thinking about what to share with you today in terms of why is this the case? And I think it is the case because digital transformation has brought us solutions to real world problems or challenges that we've had in the past in trying to get connected as quickly as we can be, in trying to get convenience in terms of, being able to get the things we want or, delivering messages or getting from one point to the other. And I think it is those little things that have made the embracing of technology, particularly digital technology, to move as fast and as steadily as it has done in the last 20 plus years. And so I'm interested to share maybe a little bit about my own experiences currently in my role as the head of public policy for the Eastern Horn of Africa at Facebook, and also a bit about the at least the learnings I've had in my previous experiences in the mobile world, previously having worked with the mobile network operator here in Kenya, as well as an association of mobile operators globally. And so tech for me has always surrounded my life and at least my adult life. And I've found that the passion with which I pursue tech related issues is driven really by the fascination every day of how much tech changes and evolves and has become super dynamic and integral to everything that we do as a people. When I think about the pandemic that we have been in so far since earlier this year, and looking at tech itself and how tech has been central in doing a number of things. Three, at least in mind, tech has been able to empower people, empower, for example, businesses that previously had only operated within a brick and mortar sort of setup, and have now had to rely or transform to using digital tools to be able to access their customers, have had to learn how to innovate around using digital to place information around what they're doing. Even simple things like a restaurant making their customers know that they're now open are things that we have seen happen during this pandemic, especially. If you think about schools and children and education, I think a lot of parents were thrust into this world of using being in virtual online, what do you call them, the virtual learning environments for some children. Not all children obviously have had the privilege of being able to experience that, but a lot of children have had that experience in this time of a pandemic, all enabled by the presence of a device. And then when I think about some of the fun things we saw, for example, during this pandemic, that helped us to go through some of the worst times in this season, just people being able to connect with their creative artists. We've seen DJs throw entire parties online that people attended from their own houses, being able to get entertained without having to move from where they were to where they needed to be to enjoy themselves. So they could do this within their homes. And we've seen a lot of this happen. So empowerment is one of the things that I think during this pandemic we can squarely say that digital has been able to facilitate. The second thing that comes to mind for me is information. When I think about Facebook, for example, or the company I work for, at the beginning of this crisis, we had a huge challenge as a people, and this was the challenge we faced across the world, and I'm talking about us as citizens of the world, to know what is this corona, what is COVID-19, what are these symptoms we're hearing of, where is the truth when it comes to corona, what are the symptoms of it, where can one get tested, who knows anything about this pandemic. And a lot of governments, working very closely with World Health Organizations, were trying as much as possible to place information, accurate information, in the hands of people, to make sure that people would not be anxious, would not panic, would be aware of what they needed to know in good time so that they could take the actions they needed to take. And so digital platforms, for example, such as ours, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and others, became central to making sure that we landed the right messaging from reliable and authentic sources to people so that they would know where to look. And I found that this is not unique to us. There's many other organizations that had gone to this level of making sure that, working very closely with government, they facilitated that kind of access for people to see and learn and be aware. So the point I'm making here is that the information piece, being able to inform, is a very strong thing that we see coming through from digital technology. And then the last thing that I would say on the point of the role that I see tech playing, or has played within this pandemic season, is also just connecting people. I gave the example earlier of people being in their sitting rooms or homes and being able to participate in an event. We've seen a lot of webinars. I think a lot of those who have smart devices or have access to internet have received at least invitations to one or two trainings or webinars on varying topics. A lot of people have transformed themselves to using digital platforms to still continue facilitating capacity building trainings or whatever it is that they're about, to make sure that the tempo is not lost in reaching people with information. And so I think people have connected more. We continue to connect even now using these platforms, and I think tech has been central in making sure that that happened, particularly during the time that there was lockdowns. For example, in the case of Kenya, there's still lockdowns in many countries where this pandemic has now taken a new wave, a second phase that is escalating. And we see that through digital platforms or digital devices, you're able to stay connected to your loved ones and so on. So I feel that tech has played a really key role in this, and operationally we're able to continue moving forward to a degree as normal as it can be. When I think about the role of innovation, for instance, in enhancing business opportunities or just businesses overall, again, I'm reminded and very privileged to be working for Facebook, to be honest, because I see all these different angles and dynamics to tech playing out. And thankfully for the company I work for, all of these aspects tend to be very integral in what we do and what we're committed to. And I see, for example, when I think about small businesses, in this case of pandemic, actually, for example, we have seen a lot of small businesses take up presence online to make sure that they stay connected to their customers, for example, that they have new ways of advertising their services and products, and reaching new markets, really, even beyond the markets that they had access to previously from their businesses, wherever they operated. And so, thinking about that role of innovation, I see that number one, we have technology has been able to help businesses solve real-world solutions. Real-world problems, provide solutions to those problems. If you think about a feature that we have, for example, currently at Facebook, that we just recently rolled out actually in Kenya, sometime mid this year, the blood donation tool. You're able, at the click of the button, to be able to let the government of Kenya or the Blood Transfusion Center, for example, know that you're interested to donate blood in case of a crisis. And as a result, we have hundreds of thousands of people who have been able to register themselves on this tool and saying, I would love to be a regular donor for a blood donor. And this is a project that we did, for example, we've done in many markets, but in Kenya we did it in collaboration with the Ministry of Health. And when you think about the kind of problem it solves, we have had many instances, and I think many of us may relate to the challenge we've seen in the past where you have a loved one who has maybe been involved in an accident or for whatever reason needs blood, but then there is no blood. Appeals on radio and everywhere to ask for blood donations, for instance. And we find that it is very stressful at that point when you need this blood, trying to find people who can give you or donate blood to serve the need that you have. And so having features like this helps to be able to have ready blood banks that can produce or bridge that gap when it is needed. And so I see that this, again, tech is very central in making sure that these things can be done. When I think about situations of conflict where families are displaced or separated from one another, again, with tech, it becomes very easy for them to find one another because, if they have access to some form of device to, the internet, it becomes easy to connect them back to one another. We've been able to do this, for example, as a company in various conflict situations and even natural disasters like hurricanes and so on, and being able to connect people or find, to just declare themselves safe so that everybody knows that is the situation. And so I think that solving real world problems or issues is a key factor that innovation has played and continues to play within businesses. The ease with which today you can buy things online. If you think about how chaotic it was, I remember back in the day when I was younger and I wanted to buy things that I saw, whether they were designer items or things that you saw online being sold in stores in the UK or whatever. It was so complicated. You needed to find a relative that either lived there or had access, was going to be coming home maybe in December, to agree to carry the item alongside whatever else they had in their bags. And this was so complicated because if you didn't have a relative or didn't know anyone, you basically would never have things from abroad, quote unquote. And with the perceptions we had of what abroad things look like, so when I think about how easy e-commerce has become, for example, for anyone to be able, from the comfort of their home, for the comfort of their office or wherever they are, even as you're walking on the streets, to be able to order things online, pay for them, and have them delivered right to where you are. All these things are enabled by the fact that we have technology, and they have come from innovation around tech. And so it's exciting to see that tech is actually playing a real role in making sure that this continues to be so, that we have more operational efficiency, that businesses are able to access new markets and new people and be able to achieve the goals that they want. The other area, I think, or role I would say innovation has played within enhancing business operational efficiency is in the area of simplifying and making easy the operations themselves. I think I've just given an example of how easy now it is to order things and buy and sell goods on platforms. It is the case everywhere. I think that example is well expounded. Lastly, I think it also gives the opportunity for business to amplify or maximize on opportunities that exist. The case example of having access to customers we previously had no access to is one classic example. But over and above that, it's just the fact that people then get to see businesses differently when they are presented online. I think the flip side of that is that the people who are able to really market their businesses online or oversell an idea can do so. But then at the same time, I think a lot of businesses are legit and are trying to do the right thing. And you will see that this then becomes much easier because of tech. And you find that then the businesses become are able to exceed their previous, to scale even bigger heights than they have in the past. So thinking about all of these things, we cannot hesitate to ask ourselves, what does the future look like when we're talking about tech? What is the future of digital transformation? And for me, from my perspective as Mercy, I think three things again. Number one, I think the future of digital transformation will continue to be integration of different sectors, integration of different people, and integration, just more of integration. There will be, I think, for example, I was talking earlier about the mobile device, but I think in not a long time from now, and we're already seeing some of those developments in some markets, many screens will be a device. Like a door could be a device. Your glasses could be a device. You don't have to be restricted to a mobile device, for example. And so I think there'll be more integration. We are seeing already integration of tech with development. We see integration of tech to do good, to make sure that you can be able to advance good things. I gave the example of people being able to find one another in times of crisis. But there are many other developments that are being layered on top of tech, and all of these are integrations that we'll continue to see in the future. I think we also continue to see tech shaping how we do things, continue to take to be front and center in shaping the way people interact, in shaping conversations, in shaping policies, in shaping the future of everything that we do. So tech, I think, will continue to be an integral part of our lives, really. And lastly, I think there will be tech will continue to preserve as well. If you think about the past and the fact that a lot of things were manual, with the digital transformation age, we are able to actually have a lot of this content still available should one wish to retain that information online. And so I think it will help us to preserve and tell a better story of what it looked like and what it is now, the before and after kind of picture. Tech will be able to do that. But I cannot talk about these future things without wondering, what then do we need to do to make sure that we achieve all of them, integration, to be able to shape our lives better and to be able to preserve things. I think it'll be a number of things. Number one, we'll need to have a more consultative ecosystem, one that allows us to agree or to talk around what we want, the policy and regulatory frameworks, for example, that determine how this ecosystem thrives, to be determined within the industry themselves, so intra-industry and then inter-industry, but over and above that, between various stakeholders, whether it be with government, civil society, basically bringing everybody on the table that is relevant to whatever the issue would be, to have a say over how we would want this ecosystem to play out. But also, more importantly, we would have to be more transparent, because remember, if we're integrating more and more, it will be important for users of these platforms, or users of devices, or users of whatever tech, to be able to, for example, report an issue that they have on the experiences that they have with ease, and it's got to be something that can be done with ease. They need to be able to determine how they want to be treated with regards to that tech, how they to share about how their experience has been so far. I think it would need also to require for there to be more transparency also around how we use or interact with information that we have of users and so on, and also just basic things about providing basic avenues for interaction with the customer or the users. I think lastly, there would need to be like a really thorough, and we see a lot of work that's been done in this, but a really thorough oversight role being played by those who are in the space of internet governance, for example, or whatever structures are already put in place to ensure that there is proper governance structures when it comes to the use of tech. So I think this conversation is simply just sharing from my own experience of what I think around how to leverage innovation for operational efficiency. But happy to have future conversations with those who are interested to explore more of areas I may have missed out, or to build up on more on the areas that I've shared. But thank you so much for your attention, and I hope that you found this useful.